Hi, I'm Bowen. I'm one of the rules designers at Barrels of Fun. I worked on Jim Henson's Labyrinth, and now I'm involved with the project of Dune. And we've got this incredible game that we're rolling out for the very first time today in public. And I'm just excited for it and eager to take you through it. All right, Brian here is attempting to play Dune while I talk you through it. The obvious biggest feature of Dune is the sandworm, which sits in the back left corner of the game, and we'll get a couple of chances to see the sandworm in action, because it does move around. It has a magnet in the center that can be used to grab the ball. One of the other key features of this game is that we have an entire day-night cycle, like the planet Arrakis. So everything is bright and orange in the daytime. It'll be darker and blue at night, and the screen will show you the progress of the day-night cycle. And if we're night, as we are here, then blue prophecy modes will be lit. If we're in the daytime, we'll see harvester battles.
I've noticed it also corresponds with the apron lights as well.
Yep, the apron lights and the lighting on the side of the cabinet, that's standard with this game. Everything you see is standard. There's no add-ons you have to buy to get the experience you have here. We want us and Legendary Pictures, we want to make sure that everyone who gets to play this game gets the full experience of enjoying this entire game. And now, Brian has gone into the pain box. You want to test yourself? Here we go. Can Brian survive the pain box test?
Remove your hand from the box.
Remove your hand from the box. You did it! You survived! Congratulations, you've proven yourself worthy.
I'm worthy.
Don't drain immediately after, though. Oh, okay.
So what did he just achieve there? Was it?
So we have on the left outlane a pain box event that happens if you drain down the outlane. It'll go into the box and give you a chance to save your life. In the Dune movie, Paul puts his hand in the box and has to keep his hand there while enduring pain. So we thought, okay, we can have the player forcibly put their hand on the button here, and they can only play with their other hand while that's all happening. And the game obviously becomes incredibly difficult at that point, and you escape that pain by enduring it and making the shots that the game asks you to make. So let's look at Desert Power. And for Desert Power, you're going to light the locks by shooting the thumper, then lock on the orbits. It gets more difficult as the game goes on, but at least at the base, you can shoot either orbit to get locks. Once you got 2 locks, some green shots will light up, and those green shots set the game to start the multiball. So when in there, now all I have left to do is to shoot the worm. Okay. And if I hit the ball there, I can increase the value for the jackpots, but also when the time runs out on the worm, now I'm in danger of potentially losing the entire multi-ball, and I've got to shoot the worm. Here we go. Oh man, what a good mech that is. In this case, what you do is you're riding the worm and you are directing the worm left and right. Whenever the worm comes back to the center shot, the yellow lights will come on, and that will allow me to choose which direction the worm is going to go when I hit the yellow shots. So I chose to hit it to the right, and now you can see the worm is going to move to the right now. And the further over the worm moves to the right, the more it's worth. Comes all the way back without hitting anything. And too bad, I gotta do it again. Try to the right again. Maybe I can get it this time. Got it. So then, there's the second phase of this where you go for a super, which was there, but I did not get the super, and I'm out. Ooh. And like any good pinball machine, there's plenty to do like that stuff.
And the super similar to Labyrinth where you're bashing the
Yeah, actually the
fork.
super for that is inspired by the rule in Labyrinth. You lock a ball behind the forks here, and then you bash it with another ball through the spinner, and how well you bash it determines the value. So then the day-night cycle occurs, and I'm in night right now, so I have a prophecy mode lit, and then I can start by shooting the scoop. If you don't want to play a prophecy mode, you can shoot spinners, and then you can transition to day instead. So this is a day transition, and these transitions can just happen as much as you want them to. Every time you transition, you get a little more value into the game. You get a bonus multiplier, and you can see the transition occurring in the back the screen in the back. And then eventually the color will change until you're in nighttime again. The further you go, the more resources you can collect, the more valuable things are. And when you're in nighttime, you can play these modes that are prophecy modes. If you're in daytime, then you can battle harvesters. So here in the nighttime, it's asking me to try to learn how to ride a worm for the first time. I'll get up there. Let's see, what do I want to do? Let's shoot this shot. Okay, there we go. Get her out. There's plenty of combo action and different shots. I like how many shots the game has, and that the game has a lot of ball paths. Most of the shots have more than one way that the ball can return to the player. And the blue and the yellow that you see on the screen, that's you collecting resources. Anytime you pick up resources, and resources typically come from shooting spinners. The other one that's here is that I have a thopter that moves back and forth from the right side of the screen to the left side, and I have to shoot a shot where the thopter is to get it exploded. When you're battling the harvester, as it was in the movies, you want to take out all the defenses, and then once you can take out all the defenses of the harvester, you go right in and try to kill it. It's probably also worth talking about the thing on the right, another little mech. This one is a slink sort of it's there. As I shoot that shot, it kicks the other ball. And by kicking the other ball, it knocks that ball into my ball and then out. And when you do that enough times, you'll get multi-ball.
Dune compares to Labyrinth. Like Labyrinth had 6 modes, your mini wizard modes, and your final boss.
Yeah, I think this has more things because there are 6 modes, but then there are also 6 battles. So in that regard, you could say that there are 12 because I have to alternate between them. I have to do the harvesters during the day and the modes at night, and then come back and forth between them. And then there are 4 wizard modes. Now Labyrinth, over a course of many months, we got the 2 main wizard modes, the Battle of Jareth and the Goblin City, and then we added a 3rd halfway wizard mode called Poison Peach. And then you can say, well, there are other multi-balls, but those are the 3 wizards. The plan here is to have 4 progressive wizards that occur whenever you finish spelling Dune, and you'll need 16 Dune letters. You can get them in more than the regular ways. Like you get one for winning a mode, you get one for beating a harvester. You can get them from other things like performance in multi-ball or a random award, or surviving the paint box. So there's going to be at least 16 ways, like there were 13 ways to get orbs in Labyrinth. But I don't expect very many players to get all the way through Dune 4 times. I want players to get all the way through Dune at least once, some of the time. But that's hard. Like that's winning 4 things.
Hey, my name is Jonathan Bergeron, like Jonathan Bergeron. Like I'm French Canadian, so I'm known as Johnny Crap. I did the artwork on that Dune project, and it's been a lot of fun to work on for the last, let's say, like almost 2 years, on and off.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So when you heard first that, hey, you got an opportunity to do some artwork on Dune, obviously sand plays an integral role in that. Do you find that to be a challenge? You're like, okay, how do I make sand interesting?
Yeah, for sure. Like I was actually working on Labyrinth at the time when he told me, like, like we're probably gonna have the Dune license. Would you be interested in working on that? And like I said, like I'm French Canadian. Denis Villeneuve is from like my little piece of land up there in Canada. So and I was super excited because like I kind of love the movies. Sand, like the first thing you think about is like, brown and yellows and beige, tan, like that's the color palette you're working with. But in the movie, like he uses a lot of the oranges and the turquoise, like blues, he plays a lot with that. So basically I started with a lot of sand and then I pulled it back and I tried to make it like, move like, in the movie they say, like sand gets everywhere, So like I was trying to place it in places where like it was coming in over the play field. Like basically there's a play field under it, and then the sand is starting to, take more and more space. And
it's evident in the inserts. You've got spots where you got artwork that actually covers your inserts.
Yeah, I was like, because it was thumpers. Like, so I'm like, let's take those thumpers and like put them in the sand, So that was fun for that. Like, you see sand like coming down in front of certain inserts to dropping off, with gravity. So like I tried to play with it. Like it's and I wanted to make sure too that we saw the ball path and use them, bringing sand over it, but also using like the ball path, like the ball just passed by. And it's dragging the sand like.
Yeah, I was about to say you've got like lines and trails.
Yeah.
To give the player visual cues on where to aim and shoot. It's nice.
That's kind of the direction. And I used to like a pattern like in the like at the bottom of the path. There's like a dune like terrain kind of topography, I think like you call that. It's a lot of fun. I tried to break it out too, like in the middle, like put some characters to like bring some life into it, and it's like a different like view to the rest of the play field.
It's nice. It draws the person's eyes upwards because we got this kind of like downward perspective. Starting
for sure.
Here. It's great.
And I brought like, when I was working on the plastics and the stuff that goes around it, like I wanted to make sure that like I had some graphic elements too in there. Stuff that they used to like, we had style guides, so I based myself like off what they had. So like bringing some line work and like the apron is basically based on the mural that's in the movie. At some point Paul like walks in front of it. So it was a lot of fun to work on.
And then the back glass, this is where you really get to, see our stars.
I really had to push myself on this one. Like I don't do characters like that as much. I really had to push the definition of like the finish of it. Like the rendering, there's a lot more rendering than I usually do. I left it a bit looser on the clothing, just because like it's a bit less important to like make it really like I wanted it to be as close as possible to all the likeness. I had like some photo material to work from, but then it's just a matter of like working the brushes over it.
And then you've got a lot of light and dark visual imagery that's represented
Yeah,
on
it's
not only the back glass, but
Yeah, for
the
sure. Like,
sides.
yeah, the whole machine basically, like on one side is kind of like the night time, and on the other side is a bit more of the daytime. So I kept that all through the game. Like even the art blades are like different on each side to represent the night and day.
Same thing.
Because whenever you hit the spinners too, like you see the lighting, it plays with the artwork that's in there too, and like really like helps the player like realizing that they're going through like cycles like that.
Hi, I'm Phil Grimaldi, rules designer at Barrels of Fun. Coming up with the rules for a game or for an IP as deep as Dune has a lot of challenges. I mean, there's a reason why just adapting this to film is a big challenge. So trying to be true to the vision of the Dune films and making sure that we're able to capture the essence of everything, put it into the game. It took a lot of mental energy to make it work, but I think we've done an excellent job of doing that. We've translated that vision, put it into the game, and made it a really compelling gameplay experience. There's a lot of just amazing moments in here that are kind of like pinball first. So like it really captures a lot of the, these moments where, oh my gosh, did that just happen? And that kind of magic that only pinball can provide. And it only happens when a lot of things come together and really gel. And we're really proud of how it turned out. And yeah, I mean, there's so much packed into here. There's so much depth and richness to the IP in general. I think we did our best to honor everything that's in here. We're all like huge Dune fans. I'm a huge Dune nerd, so this was such a dream come true for me to be able to do this. And gosh, just the end result, as you're seeing, is just stunning. I'm so proud to be part of this team.
So let's talk about the pinball moments that you alluded to. So you got a couple of firsts in here for sure. Obviously, you can't have Dune without a sandworm. What's special about this sandworm in the gameplay?
So this sandworm, like the mechanism itself, is just an engineering feat. It can do so many different things. So there's basically, it has a magnet in center. It can grab the ball. That's one common in pinball. But it can grab the ball. It can rise up out of the playfield. It can drop it onto the wire form. Wow, that's wild. It can eat the ball. It can eat it in various different stages. So it can eat it when it's down low. So it can just grab the ball, eat it. It can rise up and eat it, like kind of envelop the ball as it's going. It can rise up, then eat it. So there's all sorts of different kind of ways that we can capture certain moments in the rules or film that we're trying to emphasize. And it can also turn into a bash toy as well. So we can capture a ball, hold it on there, rise it up, and then you can hit the worm as it's written up out of the playfield. So it is a deceptively simple and hidden mechanism that comes out of the playfield and does all sorts of different cool things.
Because your top-down view, we're just looking at it. It's like, oh, okay, it's a magnet with a core.
Yes, and then I can imagine a lot of new people who maybe not familiar with this game play this for the first time, and will be extremely shocked and surprised when some of this stuff happens. And that's exactly the kind of thing you want to see in a pinball machine, because that's the thing that only pinball can provide. That kind of surprise and that. Those moments where you're just like, holy crap, that ball just did that thing, or the game just did that.
So we've got all the assets from both movies. How do you roadmap that when it comes to, coming up with rules, coming up with modes, what to leave out, what to cut in? How do we do this without overloading, a player's senses?
Right, and if you're familiar with the films, it's a very political, and there's a lot of like strategy and politics and abstract things that are in this, which makes Dune such like a great story and compelling movie. You can't do all that in a game, and it's pinball. You can't do nuance in a pinball machine. So what you need to do is distill it down to what are the things that are tractable, what are short objectives that a player can do in the game, and like what's going to be a repeatable thing. So like if you put a mech in a game, you put all this stuff into, or like all this engineering into a particular mechanism, you don't want it to be a one-trick pony that does one thing. It can't just be one scene. What's something that you can do over and over again? And in this game, you're playing from the perspective of the Fremen. So you are fighting against the Harkonnen, and Lisan al-Gaib comes, the Messiah comes at this point, but you're fighting against the Harkonnen, and one of the main objectives in the game is defeating all of their harvesters, disrupting their spice production. So we have another amazing mechanism in the rear left corner of the game representing the Harkonnen harvesters. So you'll be defeating these harvesters as you go to try and disrupt spice production. This is going to get more and more difficult as you go on. Obviously the first harvester is going to be a little bit easier. And we have this awesome interaction with the ball as you destroy these. Not only does the mechanism have this kind of like intercollapsing action to it when you hit it, but we're making use of the LCD backglass behind it and having explosions come out. And this gives you way more kind of immersion into what's actually happening. And so like this is like Medieval Madness 2.0, kind of that moment when you defeat the castle. Yeah. This is like that. You defeat the harvester and you get this big explosion and you want to do it again. And that's how we can take a very complicated story and structure, but we can build pinball rules around it where you have this repeatable objective. It's fun to do. You want to do it again. It gets harder and harder as you go, and it's compelling.
I'm Eric Priepke. I'm the programmer for Dune. A lot of complicated stuff to have to juggle in this game with the various sections that can do more than one thing. The lift ramp and diverter and the radical kickback with the drop target on it. The worm mech, of course, is a rather complicated piece of machinery. So there's a lot to juggle, but it's also a lot of opportunity to do a lot of really cool things.
Exactly. And with those opportunities, we have certain things. We've got your light rail system now, so you've got a fully interactive lighting system. Yeah, some of the add-on lights you can get that give you more light on the playfield, but the ability to do full RGB shows throughout is a lot more. Like some of those add-on ones can just flash a color. We can entirely control every single LED so that we can do a lot of really cool effects. Like when the harvester gets shot at the end of the battle, this whole rail lights up blue like the laser beam from the movie. And then there's a little bit of glow along the rail when it blows up to go along with all the other screen and other LEDs inside the toy. Mm-hmm. And like you said, it's the little details, like a small section of the lights is changing color. It's not just a blinking rail.
Right. Yeah, in the survive mode, when you're in the thopter, there's a constant forward motion, like because you're in the helicopter and you're flying through the whole mode, there's a constant forward motion on the lights to give you that we're going somewhere sort of vibe, I guess.
So when you learn about add-on features like a shaker motor, a light rail system, 4 magnets, multiple diverters, does that personally excite you for a new challenge, or are you like, oh my god, what are we doing here?
Oh yeah, more to do is always good. Like it makes it more interesting. The challenge with programming is always getting the logic to do the thing you need to do. So all the little extra toys you get to wave around and little extra effects and atmosphere you can add, that stuff's like icing on the cake. The hard part is always how do things layer together, and does this interrupt that? What happens when this happens, if that's already happening, So being able to take a break and make an explosion happen on the back screen, or some kind of cool lighting effect with the rails, that's the fun part.
Mm-hmm. Hi, I'm Brian Savage. I am the Chief Business Officer for Barrels of Fun.
What are the lessons learned from starting a company from scratch, going to Labyrinth, and then now coming out with game number 2?
It's there's a lot, and as people always say, pinball is hard, because it is hard, because you have a plan, and oftentimes you have vendors and governments and other people that have a different plan, and so you just have to shuck and jive and change and modify what you're doing to fit whatever the situations are, to make it come out to be not only the best machine that it possibly can to represent the Legendaries brand, but to make sure that pinball people like it everywhere, that it fits what they want, that it truly has moments in the game.
So what was it like working with Legendary for the first time? Because this being game number 2, obviously you don't have an established relationship with them.
Well, the interesting thing about Legendary is when we started development of this machine, or started after the license, let me put it that way, we weren't even a pinball company. we had established ourselves, but we hadn't even made a machine. So basically, because of the deck that David, my partner, made, showing the process of how we look at an IP and say, what does an IP need? So like in Dune, like you have the siege. So it's like, well, that has to be in here. The pain box has to be in here. The worms have to be in here. The harvester have to be in here. What does it need to represent that universe? And so when we laid out our vision for Labyrinth and showed them what we're doing with that, they said, thumbs up, man, we're going to go with you guys, even though you haven't even made a single product yet. So that's probably the most amazing thing out of all of this is you're talking about over $1 billion franchise that put their trust in us
Before you had anything
we had anything to really show them to represent their brand. And you can see what a fantastic product that has come out.
So looking here, we've got, the Fremen Mountains. We've got sculpts on top of sculpts. We're not dealing with just flat acrylic plastic anymore. You guys have really, set yourself apart with the sculpting details.
Absolutely. And what I like to say is, hey, the 90s called and they want their flat plastics back. This doesn't, the only flat plastic facing the player is the bezel on the monitor in the back. But so when you mold stuff, it's called a tool, okay? There are 18 different tools that some of them have multiple cavities in them just to produce all the items are on this play field. So it's a lot of testing and changing. Just looking at the mountain, we had to work very hard to not make that a ball trap and still look like a mountain. So the ball can't get up there and sit somewhere. It's going to roll off anywhere it is. And then, of course, you have to be accurate to the property's color palette. You've got the worms are different colors, the harvester, the thumpers, the sand. Not all sand is created equal. And so you've got different colors of items, all across the playfield. You've got the pain box. So you've got, but the good thing about Legendary, because they have such detailed reference, for us to go look at. And so it wasn't that hard. It just takes a while to get it right. So we also have some accessories coming. The machine will ship with just a flat plastic topper that's just kind of a placeholder. But we will have an animated topper, which I'm not going to tell you any more than that. But you've seen our other animated toppers, what they do, so you can expect what's going to happen on that. But it will also represent the day and night cycle. It will work with the machine on that. So
when we're seeing gameplay color elements, when
it will change. The topper will change color too.
Nice.
So that will be a really fun addition to it. Plus, we're going to have some other molded accessories in an accessory pack. I'm not going to tell you what they are right now, but they'll come with the crysknife shooter rod. So those will be available later in the spring. We also are working on alternate back glass, so you'll have a different choice. If you don't want the characters, if you want more of the scenery type of thing, there'll be something different from that. And then we'll have the topper down the road. And then, of course, we showed everybody the secret drink holder. So just use your imagination, and I won't say anything like popcorn bucket, nothing like that at all. So just think about that. It's something that it will be absolutely unique to this machine.
So you say pinball first, and yes, there is a lot of new stuff in here, but you gotta remember, I'm a pinball collector, I'm a pinball fan, so a lot of this stuff,
callbacks.
I'm pulling back to things that I love in games. Swirly ramps, Circus Voltaire, Toten. There are inspiration from a lot of these games. I mean, for example, the space over here where we have the multiball, the sand trap multiball over here. It is one of those situations of like, we had a spare space there and what could we do? And a lot of times you'd be looking at other games, we'll go out and we'll play games somewhere and you go, Radical, that is an amazing trick on Radical. And we have a space that we could literally fit it. But you can take a mech like that, but how does it integrate into the game itself?
It's got to make sense for the theme, the game.
It's got to make sense. The whole point is you hide your soldiers. They hide under the sand. So the whole point, you put a ball in there, and now they're waiting to be called to the cause. So one of the ideas is we want to use it as an adder ball. You put a soldier away in there, and then when you need to call him, you can shoot it back in there and get him out there to help you on the mode and into the war. When it comes to the toy side of it, it's like, how do we capture what the Fremen are doing and how they walk in this world? So we have the mountain over here. So this is the siege, and the siege is like, they don't just go into the siege one direction. There's multiple entry points. So for example, you can shoot an orbit. Well, right now the ramp is down, so you'd go up a ramp and it'll feed the wireform here. But there's another exit. So there's a diverter behind here, and if you shoot that, it can actually come out from the back side of the mountain. And then on the other side of it is you have a lift up ramp that can lift up, and that just becomes a traditional orbit that goes all the way around. But it doesn't just go all the way around. There's actually a magnet that you can actually see through the wire form that it will grab the ball and feed that into the mountain and out to the subway. So there's always multiple entry points into the siege. Also, you can go into the siege from the upper ramp on the inside ramp here. You also can go underneath it because there's a pathway that feeds down into the battle zone in here. And there's a magnet in there, so when you trap up in there, you can collect spice, you can fight in there. You can, once you have the fork up, you can bash the ball and it'll do its own little crazy stuff in here. Plus, there's nothing more satisfying that we learned on Labyrinth with a drop target with a spinner behind it. So we took it to the next level and put a magnet in between it. So, and there's nothing more satisfying when you hit that and it rips the ball. It is really, really satisfying. We also do have a stand-up post in the back of it. So we can actually stop the ball from leaving, or we also can allow the ball to come out and come up to the upper flipper. And vice versa, we can stop the ball from going in. It has optos in front of it, so we can actually tell if the ball goes in or goes out. So we can stop it in multiple positions.
And you got a scoop here that's accessible from multiple directions.
Yeah, so you can obviously shoot it directly on. You can shoot it from the backside, from under the flipper, and you also can do it through this spinner under here that goes under the sand dune and feeds it from the left side of it. The thumper bumper. Yeah, this is probably the first thing. Is like we have to turn the thumper bumper, pop bumper into how we can call it. So obviously you can trigger it by hitting it, and there are modes that you have to hit it to activate it. But there are times during a game when you're playing a game and you want to get some additional bonus. And if you've actually selected thumper on your 3 drop bank target here and collected it, these targets of the thumpers here, if they're lit, you can hit it and you can cause the thumper to go off to call the worm to get a bonus. And as that is going, you'll see the progression of the worm slowly going towards the William mech, and once he gets up there, obviously it represents when William is ready to eat the ball. We learned a lot of things, but as a collector myself, as like, what can we give to the collector that they don't have to worry about? And a lot of things people add to their games, including Labyrinth, people said that the lighting was too low. So we wanted to figure out how we could incorporate a lighting system into this. And that's where we came up with the Horizons, that they call it HAL for short. And this is actually built into the cabinet. So where the playfield glass slides in, underneath that we created a whole new cavity where we actually line in RGBWs so we can actually fully control the light down onto the playfield. So that was one of the key features that we wanted to add. The other thing that we wanted to add was the decals. A lot of things with Labyrinth that we did, I mean, we're happy with our decals on it, but there would be times that people would scratch their decals. So how can we fix that? There are different things that I saw other companies do, and basically what we decided was the Evergloss decals was the way to go, because although they're not scratch resistant, but it can take a really, really good beating, and it's not going to curl up under the legs. We also did a mirroring printing on the backside of it, so it's actually a mirror ink on the inside of the Everglass decals. We also upgraded the the audio system in this because of this game is so cinematic. I wanted to make sure the audio was heard in its best possible format. So we included an independent amplifier that's actually in the back box now. So now we can actually drive that sound a lot more cleaner. Infinity Glass, it's our version of Invisiglass, is basically, again, a lot of people pay a lot of money for that, and it's something that you shouldn't have to add on to a game. Like, we want to make the highest quality game we possibly can for the best value for your buck. And at the end of the day, it's one of those things with Labyrinth. A lot of our vendors kind of did doubt what we could be doing, but when they saw what we did with Labyrinth, they trusted us more, which means we actually had better buying power. And when we got better buying power, we're able to include a lot more with that. Everyone wants a shaker motor. I like shaker motors, but if I had to pay for it, I don't tend to do it. But if it's included, of course I love it. But so many people ask for a shaker motor in Labyrinth. So we had to make sure we had a shaking motor in this game. The good news is also the shaking motor that goes into this is retroactively able to work in Labyrinth. We've got to get the boards in because it has to have a separate board for it, and Eric's got to put the code into it.
I'm Travis Mosman with Barrels of Fun, and proud to introduce the Dune Pinball machine. You know, I was involved as contributing to the mechanical layout and producing the overall model of the play field and doing all that integration. So I'm really proud of the layout and the overall gameplay that we've been able to put into the machine. It's got a lot of neat mechanisms and toys that are all, I think, to come together in a really cohesive package. It's really packed edge to edge. You'll notice that there's shots that go all the way to the edge of the playfield wood on both sides of the playfield. It's got 3 opto spinners that are an upgrade from even what we did on Labyrinth with its renowned spinner through the forks. And the game's packed with magnets and custom mechs. There's one mechanism in particular that I think everybody's going to talk about. That's the worm mech, and it's a really multifaceted mech. So it's not only like the Tales of the Arabian Nights magnet that can catch the ball and eat it, but it also has a giant rotating cylinder that is the body of the sandworm, and it can raise up all the way to the height of the wire form. And it can move in the mouth that eats the ball and the body in any way you want, so in relation to one another. So we could have some really neat choreography planned for that overall mech. So sometimes it goes up slowly or quickly, and sometimes it eats the ball or swallows the harvester in a sort of different way. It also serves as a bash toy, so it has sensors in front of it that let us know if the player is bashing into it. So we use that creatively in some of the modes to indicate maybe you're throwing your maker hook and capturing the worm's scales to turn it left or right, or to ride the worm. So that's got a lot of neat aspects to it. We talked at one point, like, well, I guess you could have it just go up, but to have it go up and twist, I mean, that would be bonus points, and so he really crushed it on the development of that mech, especially being able to incorporate a custom sculpt on it with all the custom painting on, just on top of the really, precise move. And it's so precise that it's really easy to level against the playfield even, because it's a software settings. You go into the menu and you can bump it up a millimeter or down a millimeter and get it nice and flush with the playfield.